Coming to get you, Barbara.
Now it's time to talk about White Zombie. And no, I don't mean the band, but the 1932 film starring Bela Lugosi. Before I talk about the movie, I should talk about what exactly a zombie is, as a modern zombie horror fan watching this film would be very surprised by it. The word zombie comes from voodoo mythology, and there are basically two types. One, the most familiar to people, is an animated corpse. Voodoo witch doctors claim to be able to animate corpses and use them as servants. The second type of zombie is a living zombie, in which a person has no will and is subject to control by another, such as the somnambulist in The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. That being said, let's talk about White Zombie. The movie opens with a young couple, Neil and Madeline, who are vacationing in Haiti. They're about to get married, but they're on their way to see a plantation owner named Charles Beaumont, who has promised to host the ceremony, as well as to hire Neil as his agent. On the way there, they run afoul of Bela Lugosi's character, Murder Legendary. Yes, his name is Murder. As a character in a 1930s-era horror movie, you already should not trust anyone played by Bela Lugosi, but if his name is Murder, that's even worse. Anyway, Murder owns a sugar processing plant and is a voodoo master who controls zombies, the animated corpses of his rivals and enemies, many of which he had killed who run his sugar plant. The driver, who fears the zombies, gets them away. When they arrive at Beaumont's house, they also meet Dr. Brunner, a missionary who distrusts Beaumont and warns the couple that his motives may not be pure. And we learn quickly that they aren't. Beaumont is in love with Madeline and wants her for himself, and is panicked that she's about to marry another man. Beaumont goes to visit Murder, who offers his help, but Murder requires some sort of terrible price. We never find out what it is. Beaumont is unwilling and tries to woo Madeline himself, but when he fails, he resorts to Murder's spell, which takes effect shortly after the wedding, and Madeline dies. A bereaved Neil is later seen drinking in a bar where he sees what appears to be Madeline's ghost. He goes to visit her gravesite to find her body missing, as it was stolen away by Murder and Beaumont. He goes to Dr. Brunner for help, suggesting that the body may have been stolen by a native witch doctor for use in a voodoo ceremony. Neil specifically suspects Beaumont, while Brunner suspects Murder. They journey off to Murder's estate, with Neil falling ill along the way. Meanwhile, Beaumont is distraught that the zombie Madeline is not at all what he expected, as without her soul, she's just, well, a white zombie. He regrets the entire thing and asks Murder to restore her soul, but Murder is unwilling to and poisons Beaumont, who starts to turn into a zombie himself. When Neil arrives, Murder attempts to have the zombie Madeline kill him, but she's stopped by Brunner. She tries to fling herself off of a cliff, but Neil grabs her and tries to talk some sense into her. Murder has his other zombies attack, but Brunner knocks him over the head with a frying pan or something, which causes all the zombies except Madeline to topple off the cliff. Beaumont attacks Murder, and they both fall to their deaths, and Madeline is restored to normal. Although it's considered a classic and an important film in the forming of the zombie genre, believe it or not, it got pretty harsh reviews when it came out, with most critics taking aim at the acting. And they kind of have a point. Bela Lugosi is good, but underused for most of the film, and we're forced to deal with the overacting of John Harron, who played Neil, and Robert Fraser, who played Beaumont. Probably the worst of it, though, is Joseph Cawthorne, who played Dr. Brunner. It seems like he was supposed to be a Van Helsing-type character at first, but he quickly becomes the comic relief. His big joke is asking you for a match. Yeah, big ha-ha. He even sidles into the frame during the happy ending to ask for a match, and everybody laughs. But for its flaws in acting and weak attempts at comedy, I still think White Zombie is a decent film, mostly due to the atmosphere. The film does a great job with building up the creepy tone, and scenes such as watching the zombies work at the sugar mill are great. It's not a perfect film by any means, but you can enjoy it for what it is, a B-movie. There's elements of goofiness, like Brunner in his matches and a villain named Murder, but the sets, the music, and the atmosphere all make up for it. It's good, but it's a shame that it couldn't be better. If there was better acting, it could have been great. One thing worth mentioning is that in a lot of ways, White Zombie is a love story. The whole thing is about Neil trying to reunite with his bride who was stolen from him. So although it's a zombie movie, you'll have to accept a sappy romantic ending, though it works despite the poor acting. As a whole, White Zombie is far from perfect, but it is far from being a bad movie. It's incredibly influential, and it handles dark and creepy very well despite its flaws. I think the best way to describe it is it's above average, so I'm going to give it a 6 out of a possible 10.